The vast Atlantic Ocean has long been a place where human ambition meets the raw power of nature. Sailors once called it the Devil's Sea. Storms rise without warning. Navigation can fail in a heartbeat. Even in the age of satellites and advanced navigation systems, the ocean still holds many secrets. Within this immense expanse lies a region that has captured modern imagination more than any other. It stretches between the southern tip of Florida, the island of Puerto Rico, and the remote archipelago of Bermuda. This area, commonly called the Bermuda Triangle, occupies an estimated 1.5 million square miles of ocean. Over the last century, countless ships and aircraft have vanished there without leaving so much as a trace. For generations, people have wondered why. The story of the Bermuda Triangle is not a tale invented overnight. It formed slowly as incidents mounted. Reports from newspapers, naval records, and eyewitness accounts tell a steady narrative of disappearances that seem to defy logic. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when steam-powered ships became common and commercial shipping intensified, strange incidents began attracting attention. Experienced captains sailed into the region only to never be heard from again. Radios went silent, ships drifted without crew, pilots reported their instruments spinning and their compasses indicating impossible headings. Then, they vanished. Sailors are a practical community. They do not cling to mysteries without reason. Their livelihoods require rational explanations. Yet the Bermuda Triangle challenged them. It presented incidents so unusual that logic alone seemed unable to explain them. The earliest reports involved sailing vessels navigating trade routes between the Caribbean and North America. The sea could swell with sudden storms called squalls that formed seemingly from clear skies. A ship caught in such conditions could be overwhelmed in minutes. Families waited at harbors for husbands, fathers, and sons who never returned. The ocean swallows silence. It does not report where it has taken its dead, but weather alone did not explain everything. One of the most unsettling early incidents involved a ship that did not vanish, yet had lost something far more disturbing: its entire crew. The vessel was called the Mary Celeste. In 1872, it was discovered drifting in the Atlantic not far from the edges of what later became part of Triangle lore. Its sails were partly set, the cargo intact, the crew's personal belongings untouched. There was no sign of struggle and no explanation for why the sailors had abandoned a seaworthy craft in the middle of the ocean. There was food, water, and enough supplies to continue the voyage safely. The lifeboat was gone. The crew was never found. Although the Mary Celeste lies slightly outside the Triangle's modern boundary, its mystery served as a warning. The Atlantic held secrets. People began to suspect that something strange lurked in those waters. By the mid-20th century, technology had progressed. Radios became standard, aircraft navigation improved, ships were built stronger and engines more reliable. Human confidence in mastering nature grew. Yet the disappearances continued. If anything, they became more puzzling. Entire groups vanished at once. Military pilots, cargo ships, and luxury vessels disappeared from radar screens while flying routine routes. Distress calls cut off mid-sentence. Search teams sent to look for the lost craft never located debris. In some cases, rescuers disappeared as well. The most famous event that pulled the Bermuda Triangle into global attention occurred on December 5, 1945. 5 U.S. Navy Avenger torpedo bombers departed from Fort Lauderdale for a routine training mission over the Atlantic. The flight was designated Flight 19. These aircraft were advanced for their time. Their pilots were trained for combat and navigation. Conditions were reported as clear. The exercise went smoothly until radio communications suddenly became confused. The flight leader reported that his instruments were malfunctioning. The ocean looked unfamiliar. The compasses, he claimed, were spinning. He insisted they had become lost, even though their position should have been certain. Other pilots' transmissions showed rising anxiety. They tried to determine direction, but everything contradicted experience. Minutes later, the radios fell silent. The Navy dispatched a large rescue aircraft with a crew of 13 to search the sea. It checked in once, then nothing more. The flight vanished. Despite one of the largest peacetime search operations in U.S. history, covering thousands of square miles of ocean, search teams found zero wreckage, no oil slick, no floating debris, no life vests, no bodies, nothing at all. Investigators recorded the official cause as unknown. Flight 19 became the defining mystery of the Bermuda Triangle, transforming what sailors had whispered for decades into a documented puzzle for the modern world. As media attention grew, additional disappearances came under scrutiny. Records revealed cases the public had largely forgotten. In 1918, the USS Cyclops, a massive U.S. Navy collier carrying more than 300 men and 10,000 tons of manganese ore, disappeared without sending a distress call. Its captain was experienced. The ship had no known structural issues. It sailed through the triangle. Then it was gone. Not a single piece of debris was recovered. The loss of the Cyclops remains the largest non-combat loss of life in U.S. Navy history. Two of Cyclops' sister ships later disappeared in a similar fashion while crossing the same general area. 3 massive steel vessels lost with all hands, all without explanation. It was not one ship. It was a pattern. Civilian craft faced the same fate. In 1948, a British South American Airways plane carrying 31 people vanished en route to Bermuda. Before contact was lost, the pilot sent one final radio message stating that everything was normal. Yet the aircraft never arrived. The following year, another plane from the same airline disappeared over almost the exact same location with dozens more passengers. Again, no wreckage. Again, no explanation. As aviation became more common, airliners started reporting strange instrument readings in the triangle. Pilots observed glowing water, odd cloud formations, and visual distortions that made the horizon appear tilted. Some claimed they had entered a strange haze or tunnel-like cloud structure and emerged hundreds of kilometers off course in impossibly short time. Skeptics argued these were simply misinterpretations of natural phenomena. But to those who experienced the distortions firsthand, the events felt unnatural. During the same decades, ship crews reported their compasses inexplicably deviating from true north. Engineers documented power outages and equipment failures occurring without warning. Mechanically, sound engines cut out. Radios produced static. Phenomena repeated across many different vessels and aircraft operated by trained professionals. Each time, the results were unpredictable. Some barely escaped. Others vanished without trace. As these events accumulated, interest in the region deepened. Writers and journalists published articles connecting the incidents. The name Bermuda Triangle began appearing in magazines in the 1950s and became widely recognized by the early 1970s. The public embraced the mystery. Scientists and military officials did not. The Navy insisted that there was no evidence of unusual danger. They attributed most disappearances to weather, human error, and the challenges of marine navigation. The Atlantic, they said, was unpredictable anywhere, not only in this triangle-shaped region. High-pressure systems in the North Atlantic can generate sudden, fierce storms. This can happen even in clear conditions. Experienced sailors already knew this, but critics argued that the official explanations ignored the sheer volume and nature of the incidents. It was not simply storms. It was complete absence of evidence that troubled researchers. A powerful storm could sink a ship, but it should not erase every sign that it ever existed. As researchers and news outlets revisited older records, new theories surfaced. Some scientists pointed to environmental hazards such as methane hydrate deposits on the ocean floor. If a large methane bubble erupted, it could reduce water density and cause ships to sink rapidly. Aircraft flying through methane clouds could experience engine failure. This theory explained some events, yet not those involving sudden instrument failure hundreds of kilometers apart or organized military flights vanishing in tandem. Others pointed to geomagnetic anomalies deep within the Earth. The Bermuda Triangle lies near areas where the magnetic field behaves irregularly. Compasses might react unpredictably. Aircraft dependent on early magnetic navigation would have been especially vulnerable. The Earth's gravitational field also varies in this region, though the differences are subtle and still under study. These anomalies could cause navigational drift without any visible sign. A pilot could fly confidently for hours before realizing he had been diverted far from his planned course. Then came the more extreme theories. Some claimed there were underwater military bases. Others believed human technology was testing advanced energy systems in secret, which interfered with aircraft systems. A small number argued that extraterrestrial forces played a role. None of these gained support from evidence, but people turned to them because no conventional theory felt complete. The U.S. Navy refused to release some investigation reports to the public. That raised suspicions. Classified documents fueled rumors of hidden knowledge. If natural causes alone were responsible, why was secrecy necessary? Government silence tends to produce more questions than answers. To this day, many records remain inaccessible. Beyond speculation and classified studies, there was the raw testimony of survivors. Those who barely escaped described experiences that haunted them for life. One such story came from a commercial pilot named Bruce Jernan. In 1970, he was flying from Andros Island to Florida. He encountered a strange cloud formation that resembled a tunnel. The aircraft's instruments malfunctioned. Communication failed. The small plane lost contact with air traffic control for minutes that later appeared as missing time in the recorded flight data. When contact resumed, Jernan and his passengers found themselves over Miami far sooner than flight calculations predicted. They believed the strange cloud had somehow accelerated their travel or disoriented spatial perception. Scientists could not explain it. Jernan spent decades trying to understand what had happened to him. He argued that the triangle contains a unique type of atmospheric phenomenon capable of warping perception and navigation. No one has yet proven him right or wrong. Accounts like these built the triangle's reputation as a place where natural laws become unreliable. But the ocean is vast and unwilling to give up its answers. Underwater search efforts remain limited. The seabed in that region includes deep trenches and rugged terrain that conceal wreckage from sonar detection. Even in the modern age, the ocean holds onto many secrets simply because humans cannot reach them. As time passed, the triangle's legend grew into a cultural phenomenon. Books, documentaries, and fictional stories amplified fear and curiosity. Some embellished events beyond accuracy. But beneath the exaggeration lies a consistent dataset of losses that cannot be dismissed. Each disappearance has a record: names, dates, serial numbers, weather reports, radio transmissions, search logs. These are facts. And when enough strange facts accumulate in one location, people search for patterns. In the 1960s and 1970s, researchers examined weather charts and ocean data to determine if the region shows unusually high storm frequency. Some studies suggested that warm ocean currents like the Gulf Stream intensify storms rapidly, giving captains little warning. The Gulf Stream also moves fast enough to disperse debris quickly, making search operations difficult. This explains part of the missing evidence problem, but not why radios and compasses fail, not why entire crews vanish from intact ships, not why experienced military navigators become disoriented in clear skies. Even as scientists published theories, the disappearances continued. In 1963, the cargo ship Marine Sulphur Queen, carrying molten sulfur, vanished with 39 crew members. It sent no distress signal. No wreckage was recovered. In 1976, a private airplane carrying the pilot and his wife disappeared during perfect weather. The pilot had radioed a routine message moments earlier stating nothing abnormal. Search teams found nothing. Technology advanced, GPS navigation improved, aircraft became more reliable. Yet, cases persisted into the 21st century. Some involved small boats and recreational craft. Others involved trained aviators. Despite fewer high-profile losses, the triangle does not appear silent. It remains a region where certainty seems fragile. The story of the Bermuda Triangle is the story of humanity confronting an environment that does not always yield logic. It challenges assumptions about control. It reminds pilots and captains that even well-prepared missions can turn into unexplained tragedy. The ocean's surface appears calm, but beneath lies a world we still barely know. Weather satellites observe the skies above, yet they cannot see what happens in the electromagnetic forces that guide our instruments. Submarines chart the depths, Yet they cannot easily explore every trench. Science has knowledge, but there are still gaps. The Bermuda Triangle is one of them. As investigators across decades worked to solve the puzzle, each new answer produced new questions. If methane eruptions occur, why are they not recorded elsewhere? If storms sink ships quickly, why do similar weather patterns outside the triangle leave debris behind? If human error is the only explanation, why does the error rate seem unusually concentrated in a single geographical area? And if everything is normal, why does the region generate supernatural levels of fear? There are moments in history when disasters challenge public imagination. The Bermuda Triangle did not create fear from a single event. Its power lies in repetition, vanishings that mirror one another despite different years, different craft, different weather, different technology. Families left without closure, governments without answers, oceans without evidence. The triangle became a symbol of the unknown, a reminder that humans do not command the natural world as confidently as they believe. Some view it as a cautionary tale about arrogance. Others see it as proof that mysteries remain in plain sight. Whether driven by ocean currents, magnetic anomalies, or still undiscovered forces, the region stands as one of the most persistent unexplained phenomena on Earth. Investigators continue to study the region. Advances in underwater scanning and satellite surveillance improve yearly. Perhaps one day, science will reveal the full truth behind the losses. Perhaps the ocean will surrender its secrets. But today, the Bermuda Triangle's dark history remains a live question, a puzzle built not on legend, but on documented disappearances that defy complete explanation. The story does not end there. Many believe the modern age has distracted us from ongoing danger. New accounts still appear, boats still vanish, aircraft still go off radar. The survivors' stories still describe strange conditions. The navigation system still occasionally fails without cause. The years move forward, yet the pattern remains. That is the foundation of the Bermuda Triangle's mystery, a region where the known world becomes uncertain, a stretch of ocean that seems to pull human confidence into doubt, a place that asks the oldest question in exploration: how much do we truly understand? In the decades following the most famous disappearances, the Bermuda Triangle became a case study in the limits of human understanding. Investigators turned every available tool toward discovering patterns that could explain the long history of loss. Meteorologists pored over data from hurricanes, squalls, and sudden weather shifts. Oceanographers measured water temperatures, currents, and undersea terrain. Geologists studied the crust beneath the Atlantic, searching for fault lines or geological processes that might trigger sudden events. Yet, despite the increasing volume of scientific research, certainty remained elusive. The triangle continued to blend the familiar and the unknown, where the edges of explanation seemed to fade into ambiguity. As governments and researchers worked to demystify the region, eyewitness accounts and survivor narratives continued to draw attention. Each account differed in details, but shared a common theme: navigational confusion and sudden mechanical failure. Pilots described their instruments spinning wildly, with compasses stuck between headings or pointing south when the aircraft was facing north. Ships reported that electronic systems shut down without warning. Even in later years, when modern GPS systems reduced reliance on magnetic navigation, anomalies were still noted. GPS readings sometimes shifted abruptly, suggesting false locations before returning to normal. It was unclear whether the anomalies were caused by environmental interference or flaws in the devices themselves. Investigators could not rule out subtle interactions between the ocean, the atmosphere, and Earth's magnetic field. Scientists studying Earth's geomagnetism pointed to a unique characteristic of the region. Near the Bermuda Triangle, true north and magnetic north can align more closely than in other places. This alignment can cause navigators using older compass systems to miscalculate direction without realizing it. Inexperienced pilots or sailors could veer off course, yet this explanation accounted for only a small fraction of disappearances. Highly trained military navigators also reported disorientation under perfectly clear skies. And even the most significant navigational error would not explain why many vanished craft failed to leave debris. The ocean may swallow evidence, but complete erasure remains statistically unlikely. Another natural variable that complicates the region is the Gulf Stream, one of the fastest-moving ocean currents in the world. Flowing northward from the Gulf of Mexico, it can exceed speeds of several kilometers per hour. A ship sinking in this current could be swept far from its last known location. Debris fields, which normally help search crews determine what happened, might be scattered across thousands of square kilometers in a matter of hours. The current also interacts with underwater topography, stirring turbulence that can rise suddenly from the depths. The seabed beneath the triangle contains deep basins and trenches that can hide wreckage from sonar. Together, these features create a search environment where even advanced technology struggles to locate loss evidence. Storm formation in the region adds another layer of danger. Warm waters and shifting pressure systems can generate sudden violent weather that appears faster than radar can track, especially in past decades. Microbursts in waterspouts can develop unexpectedly, turning calm seas into lethal zones within minutes. But again, weather alone does not fully account for the complete disappearance of large and well-equipped vessels. If storms were solely to blame, wreckage should surface somewhere. Some scientists suggested that rapid sinking combined with the Gulf Stream's strong flow could drag debris below the thermocline, a layer where water density and currents change drastically. However, the repeat pattern of debris-free vanishing still defied simple categorization. One of the more compelling scientific theories involved methane hydrates trapped beneath the seabed. At great depths, methane gas can freeze into crystalline structures. If geological activity or temperature changes release the gas rapidly, it could rise toward the surface in a massive bubble. When methane mixes with water, the liquid density decreases significantly. A large enough bubble could cause a ship to lose buoyancy and sink almost instantly, leaving the crew little chance to react. Methane could also create pockets of low oxygen air above the water, potentially choking aircraft engines. Experiments and studies supported the physics behind the theory. Yet, methane eruptions this large were rarely recorded in the region, leaving researchers uncertain about how frequently the phenomenon could occur. For each scientific explanation, unanswered questions remained. The triangle resisted reduction into a single cause. Instead, it appeared to be a convergence point of multiple hazards: strong currents, volatile weather, geomagnetic anomalies, and deep ocean terrain. A sailor navigating these waters faced a stack of variables that could compound unpredictably. A pilot could encounter instrument malfunction at the same time as visual disorientation from unusual cloud formations. Small failures, when combined, could escalate into catastrophe. Government agencies continued to collect data, though not always publicly. Some naval records were archived under restricted classification, sparking speculation that certain disappearances involved sensitive missions. The military has tested advanced materials, propulsion technologies, and electronic warfare systems for decades. If experiments took place within the triangle, electromagnetic interference could explain the reported equipment failures. But without direct evidence, such claims remained conjecture. Official statements consistently described the Bermuda Triangle as no more dangerous than any comparable ocean region. Critics countered that statistics showed a higher concentration of unexplained losses than the Navy was willing to acknowledge. While science searched for earthly explanations, other voices turned to alternative theories. Underwater civilizations, energy vortices, and unidentified aerial craft became subjects of books and documentaries, sensationalizing the triangle's mythology. Many dismissed these ideas as entertainment, but they persisted because the core mystery remained unresolved. Humans struggle to accept incomplete knowledge. Where science leaves room for doubt, imagination fills the void. Among the more grounded alternative theories was one involving rogue waves. These enormous walls of water, far larger and more powerful than surrounding waves, were once considered maritime legend. Modern satellite data, however, confirmed their existence. Rogue waves can reach heights exceeding 30 meters and strike without warning. They can snap steel hulls and overturn large vessels instantly. Researchers discovered that regions near the Gulf Stream's boundary might create conditions favorable for such waves. If a ship encountered one, it could be destroyed so quickly that distress signals never transmit. Yet rogue waves also fail to explain aircraft disappearances, and they do not account for reports of instrument malfunction preceding vanishings. Over time, the Bermuda Triangle became more than a physical location. It became a symbol of uncertainty, a reminder that technology does not grant complete control over the environment. It also became a case study in human perception. The more attention the region received, the more people scrutinized every incident that occurred within its boundary. This created a feedback loop where some ordinary maritime accidents were reinterpreted as part of the mystery. Insurance records showed that the number of incidents may not be significantly higher than in other heavily traveled ocean regions. Do not account for reports of instrument malfunction preceding vanishings. Over time, the Bermuda Triangle became more than a physical location. It became a symbol of uncertainty, a reminder that technology does not grant complete control over the environment. It also became a case study in human perception. The more attention the region received, the more people scrutinized every incident that occurred within its boundary. This created a feedback loop where some ordinary maritime accidents were reinterpreted as part of the mystery. Insurance records showed that the number of incidents may not be significantly higher than in other heavily traveled ocean regions. This data suggested that at least some of the triangle's reputation was magnified by cultural narrative and selective reporting. Disappearances that occurred outside the triangle were sometimes linked to it through widened boundaries, reinforcing a mythology that might not align perfectly with historical patterns. Even so, the mysteries documented within the triangle remain formidable. The disappearances of Flight 19, the USS Cyclops, the Marine Sulphur Queen, and dozens of other cases documented by governments and international agencies cannot be fully attributed to statistical coincidence or media exaggeration. The sheer number of unexplained losses involving trained military personnel, reinforced vessels, and calm weather conditions demands investigation. Some incidents involved double vanishings, where search crews also disappeared. These patterns suggested that something more than simple human error might have been involved. Technology should have reduced the mystery, and to an extent, it did. As aviation and maritime safety standards improved, loss rates declined. Navigation systems became far more resilient to environmental disturbance. Emergency transponders ensured that if a craft encountered trouble, search teams had precise coordinates for rescue. But the ocean remains unpredictable. Sensors can fail, batteries can die, even satellites and radar have blind spots. The Bermuda Triangle, despite millions of people passing through safely each year, still sees occasional disappearances that defy immediate explanation. In 2015, a commercial cargo ship called the SS El Faro sank near the triangle's boundaries during a hurricane. The ship's wreck was eventually found, but only after one of the most intensive deep-sea searches in U.S. maritime history. This tragedy served as a reminder that even modern vessels, equipped with advanced systems, remain vulnerable to the Atlantic's power. However, unlike many earlier cases, the El Faro provided recoverable evidence. Investigators concluded that the hurricane's extreme conditions overwhelmed the ship. In this case, nature, not mystery, was the obvious culprit. The El Faro case ignited renewed debate. Were earlier disappearances also due to extreme weather and insufficient technology? Or was the triangle's darker reputation still justified by incidents that occurred under completely normal circumstances? Aviation safety experts argued that improved monitoring and communication had significantly reduced unexplained aviation losses in the region. Nevertheless, they acknowledged that even with modern data, a small percentage of incidents still resist definitive conclusions. Such gaps continue to fuel speculation. Behavioral science added another interpretation. The phenomenon of confirmation bias can magnify meaning in random events. When researchers expect mystery, they look for anomaly. Yet this argument cannot erase the many thoroughly documented cases in which trained operators made normal decisions before circumstances turned fatal without warning. Patterns do exist. The questions lie in how to interpret them. Some researchers argue that the Bermuda Triangle represents a perfect storm of many natural hazards, not supernatural, not conspiratorial, simply dangerous. A region where nature layers risk on top of risk. Powerful currents, unpredictable weather, magnetic variances, deep trenches, and high traffic density. In such a place, accidents can accumulate faster than in calmer waters. Evidence can vanish before rescue arrives. Families and governments are left without closure. Others argue that the triangle's enduring mystery stems not from nature, but from human expectation. The narrative is compelling. It invites fascination. People want unexplained phenomena to exist. They find equal discomfort in a universe with no mysteries and a universe where mysteries remain beyond answer. The Bermuda Triangle occupies a border between these extremes. It offers uncertainty just firm enough to feel real, yet loose enough to allow imagination to expand. What stands out after decades of investigation is not a single theory, but a layered complexity. The Bermuda Triangle's dark history is not one story, but many. Each disappearance reflects a different interaction between fragile technology and a powerful environment. Each family waiting for news reflects the human cost of exploration. Each unanswered question reflects the limits of current knowledge. When a ship sails into those waters or a jet flies overhead, countless forces surround them. The Earth's magnetic field is invisible but vital. The ocean current never pauses. The sky can betray even the most experienced pilot. Machines rely on data constantly vulnerable to failure, and between human confidence and natural power lies uncertainty. That is the true heart of the Bermuda Triangle's mystery. It reminds us that the world is not fully mapped or mastered. Sailors still give the region quiet respect. Pilots trust their navigation but remain alert. Fishermen from the Bahamas tell stories of lights beneath the water and sudden violent seas. Local knowledge suggests that caution is the most rational stance. The triangle may not be supernatural, but neither is it entirely understood. The legacy of the Bermuda Triangle continues to evolve. New technology may reveal truths that transform the mystery into statistics, or more anomalies may emerge, challenging those who believe every question has a logical explanation. As humans push boundaries, the environment continues to push back in ways that highlight our vulnerability. In time, deeper study may uncover all the answers. Yet, even then, the triangle will not entirely lose its power. The stories of those who vanished remain woven into maritime history. The unanswered transmissions from pilots lost in disorientation still echo through time. The absence of debris from major disappearances continues to nag at investigators. The Bermuda Triangle is not a legend created by imagination alone. It is a catalog of real events that defy final explanation. It stands as a dark chapter in the shared history of aviation and navigation. It reminds the world that some edges of our planet retain the capacity to surprise and challenge humanity. Its story continues because the ocean continues to behave in ways we do not always predict. As ships continue to sail and aircraft continue to fly, the triangle remains a place of caution and curiosity, a place where human confidence meets the deeper forces of nature, a place where the unknown persists. The ocean does not reveal answers easily. It buries evidence beneath kilometers of water. It erases signs of catastrophe within minutes. As a result, many questions may never be fully resolved, but the search for truth continues. Every expedition, every technological innovation, every recovered wreck brings humanity one step closer to understanding. Yet even as progress is made, silence remains in the depths, a silence that holds the final accounts of those who vanished, a silence that keeps the Bermuda Triangle alive as a mystery. The dark history of this region is not defined by fantasy, but by the many real lives lost to circumstances still not entirely understood. That truth ensures that the Bermuda Triangle will always occupy a place in human curiosity. It is a mirror reflecting our need to challenge the unknown. It is a reminder that discovery is never complete. The world is vast, knowledge is limited, and some regions resist full explanation. The Bermuda Triangle remains one such region. Its story continues not because of exaggeration, but because evidence and uncertainty coexist within its boundaries. The maps show a shape. The history shows a pattern. The mystery remains.